What's this deck called? MarshChomp? TinaChamp? Welcome back, everyone, to more from the Sableyes. I'm Mitch, and today we're going to take a look at Giratina-Garchomp with Marshadow Machamp and Magneton on PTCGO. We'll see whether this deck works. I still haven't decided what I'm going to call it yet either. Like, the title, you've seen the title of this video, but I've got no idea. Trying to fit so many different Pokemon names in. This one has come to you from Gabriel Smart over on Twitter. He has managed to make top 16 of the Neil Pie Open over the last week with this deck. So if you want to check him out, description, there will be a Twitter link for you, as well as the deck list as well. If you want to play along, that would be fantastic. Whilst you're there, subscribe if you haven't already, that would be fantastic, and leave a like. I presume YouTube works in such a way that if you like the video, then more people will see it, and if that's the case, then that would be fantastic. I'd love more people to see this. I just love that. That would be great. Anyway, without further pandering, we will jump over onto PTCGO and check out the deck. So this is the deck that we are looking at today, and by God is it a crazy one. There are lots of different things going on here. It's kind of a mishmash of stuff. I'll try and work through it as best I can. Let's start with TinaChomp. This card is probably going to be our generic attacker. We're going to use this for the most part in most of our games. It's got the most versatile attacks. It's very useful. It can snipe with linear attack for 40 damage. It can deal big one-shots with Calamitous Slash 160 plus an extra 80 if that Pokemon already has damage on it. So you're doing 240 plus the 10 that is already there. That's 250. Linear attack does 40, so you can potentially set up some nice knockouts around the place. And also GG and a very powerful GX attack. For 2 Psychic and a Fighting, we can just discard one of the Pokemon that is in our opponent's field of play. There's an extra effect as well. If there's 3 extra Fighting, we can discard 2 of our opponent's Pokemon instead. It's not going to happen that often, but surprisingly enough, this deck could actually do it. So it's worth keeping that in mind. But overall, we are expecting to just be using Calamitous Slash or GGN for the base effect. A very powerful attacker. We also have Marshadow and Machamp in this deck. Revenge for a Fighting and a Colorless does 30 plus 90 if we've had a Pokemon knocked out, so 120, that's nothing to sneeze at. Then you've got 100 Blows Impact for 2 Fighting Colorless, does 160 flat, and Acme of Heroism GX, 200 damage. And then if this Pokemon has an extra energy attached to it, then this Pokemon, if it would be knocked out by an attack next turn, cannot be knocked out by an attack. Its HP goes down to 10, which is fantastic for this particular card. It means that we can get some more longevity out of it, which is brilliant. We're probably going to use this card the most, though, against 2 of the decks that float around in the format at the moment. That is Pikarom and Eternatus. The fighting typing of this card, very, very useful in those matchups. We can use 100 Blows Impact to take clean knockouts on Pikaroms, and we can use Acme of Heroism to knock out an Eternatus VMAX in a single hit. So very important to include this card in the deck as well. And obviously the engine that we're going to use is built around this Magneton call signal. Means that when we place this Pokemon down, we can choose to, if we want, I mean, we don't need to place the Pokemon down. When it's in the field of play, we can choose before we end our turn to discard this Pokemon, knock it out, our opponent takes a prize, and we get 3 supporters from our deck. That is really, really useful because it sets up some really cool supporter combinations since we've got Lieutenant Surge's strategy, but we'll get to that in just a second. One last card, we also have a copy of Galarian Zigzagoon. This is really, really good to give you those extra damage ticks that you might need to knock out a Eternatus VMAX. If everything goes according to plan, we can use Zigzagoon a couple of times to try and get some ticks across. Maybe we need it to deal with one of those pesky VMAX Pokemon along the way. We will see how it goes. Anyway, I mentioned supporters. Let's talk about those. Lieutenant Surge's strategy lets you play 3 supporters in a turn. So Surge plus 2 others, and you get to use all of their effects as long as you are behind in prizes. Obviously, Magneton knocking itself out will mean that on the first or second turn, you're likely to already be behind. So you can guarantee that you're going to be able to use Surge and the combination that comes with it. It's almost like, you know, these cards were designed to work together. This is the full art Magnemite, it has Surge in it. Come on, guys, let's obviously use these in combination. We've got a lot of other supporters that we can use. This is a greens-based deck, so we can play greens exploration. The best thing is, the only abilities that we have are Zigzagoon, which is frustrating sometimes, or Magneton. We can just knock out Magneton, we can scoop up Zigzagoon, and then use greens exploration, no problem. Searching for 2 trainers, getting ourselves access to pretty much everything that we need. We have 1 copy of Cynthia Caitlin as well. We have 1 copy of Professor's Research. That's our draw. We have 3 Boss's Orders. And we also have 2 coffees. 2 coffees. I need to drink a coffee by the sounds of it. 2 copies of Bead or Bidet. It's Bead, where we can attach an energy from our hand to one of our benched Pokemon. Now, that doesn't seem like that great of an effect, but when you can guarantee that you can use it in conjunction with another supporter, then it's actually pretty solid, and it can power up these 2 Tag Team GX Pokemon pretty quickly. So, a very interesting inclusion. I like it a lot. When it comes to the rest of our trainers, we've got Pokemon Search aplenty. There's 4 Quick Ball, which we obviously need. We've got access to 1 copy of Tag Call, which not only finds ourselves our attacker, but also gets us a supporter in a pinch. We have access to Evo Incense as well. This will find ourselves access to Magneton. There's heaps of way to find Pokemon in this deck, which is brilliant. We've got 3 Energy Spinner to find energy. We've got 4 copies of Pokégear to find access to supporters. So we shouldn't have any problem being in our getting into our supporters at all. The only issues we might have is, since we're giving away prizes, if our opponent takes a big knockout, we can potentially fall behind. We have 2 copies of Reset Stamp to make sure that it's never too big of a deal. And we can potentially put our opponent down to a single card in their hand with Reset Stamp after we've used 2 Magnetons and they've knocked out a Tag Team GX. So keep that in mind. I mentioned Scoop Up that already. We only run the 1 copy of that, but we can search it out with green, so it's not a problem. We have 2 copies of Switch, just in case we need to maneuver in the early game to get our attacks off. And we've got a few stadiums as well. We've got 2 copies of Martial Arts Dojo, which gives us a whole bunch of extra damage. We can deal 10 extra if we have fighting energy attached to our TinaChomp. That's 50 with linear attack on the active, which is pretty solid. And then if we're behind, which we're likely to be, we deal an extra 40. So Martial Arts Dojo, very powerful there. And we also obviously have Power Plant in the deck, so we can play this down on the turn that we reset stamp our opponent to 1, so that they're unlikely to get access to any extra cards through Dedenne. Finally, Karate Belt reduces the attack cost of our attacks by 1 fighting if we're behind. Again, we're going to be behind, so we may as well use this card. There are 3 copies in the deck. We can attach it to both of our attackers. And TinaChomp, that means we just need 2 energy rather than 3. Same thing for Marshadow Machamp. Lastly, energy count, we have 9. There are 5 fighting energy and 4 copies of psychic energy. For the most part, we're going to try and attach our psychics to Garchomp Giratina, but it is important to remember that Marshadow and Machamp has a colorless energy cost on both of its attacks, so you can use psychic there. It's not that bad. If we have, so let's see, over here, sorry, if we have 4 fighting energy on this card, we can use GGN for 2 Pokemon, so it is possible. Like I said before, we've got enough energy, we've got Bead to accelerate them, so it's possible, but I wouldn't go into a game expecting that to happen. What we'll do is we'll jump over onto the ladder in just a second and play some games. If you haven't already checked out the list, it's down below in the description. Like the video whilst you're there. Let's go onto the ladder and see if we can't get some wins. Alrighty, let's see how we go. We've lost the coin flip here, so our opponent will get to choose what we do. We'll see whether or not we can pull together a win here. No basics. This is a problem the deck sometimes has. Can't find basics occasionally. Let's see if we've got one here. We've got a couple of Magnemites, and those metal energies there from our opponent makes me think that we're playing up against either ADP Zacian or Luca Metal. I don't know which one I'm more worried about, to be honest. I feel like I'm more worried about Luca Metal. There's a Zacian in the active, so it could be either. Let's see here what our opponent goes for. We've actually got a really, really good hand considering everything. Water energy discarded there means we're probably playing ADP. Yeah, all things considered, we've got a pretty good opening hand. We've got an extra Magnemite just in case. We've got greens so that we can find ourselves access to pretty much anything that we want this turn. There's an energy attachment to the ADP and an Intrepid Sword, so they're going to be set and ready to go to GX this turn. We will see what we can do. Let's, I think what we want to do is we probably want to find ourselves Garchomp Giratina early. I'm going to get rid of this Magnemite, which is a bit of a risk because our opponent could potentially knock our Magnemite out here, which I would not like. But if they do that, then they're not going to be able to get the GX attack off, so it's not a problem. We will find a bunch of energy. I will attach a Psychic to the TinaChomp, then we will greens. I'm going to find the Evo Incense, and I think I could grab Bead as well. That would be an interesting one. I don't really need to grab that, though. I think maybe just grab the Dojo, and I can get rid of the Chaotic Swell here. I kind of want to play down the Power Plant at some point, because ADP Zacian loves to play Dedenne, so hopefully we can lock them out of the game. Here comes a Spinner, so they are guaranteed to get that GX attack off here. But tell you the truth, I'm actually more worried about a knockout. If they knock out the Magneton, then there's not a huge amount that I can really do, because I'm going to need to discard a lot of energy, and yeah, there's going to be a lot of things going. There's the energy switch. Magnemite could be in trouble. I'm not a big fan of this at all. And they've got access to research, and this is a very powerful start from ADP. A Metal Saucer as well. If they've got an extra one of those, oh, they're going for the GX. Okay, so they're Altered Creationing. This is fine. We've set ourselves up now. We can get our Magneton going. This is pretty good. It's not ideal, but it's good. So we've got access to Call Signal here. I want to grab a Lieutenant Surge. I might... Oh, actually, no, I'd probably... What can I do? I'm gonna grab greens, right? Speed will Accelerate. Yeah. This would be... Oh, hang on, no. No, if I had of... Oh, whoops. Okay, so I was like, Bead will accelerate the energy, but it only accelerates to the bench. So I might be in a bit of strife. It doesn't matter, though. I'm just looking for a knockout at some point. I can just GGN this, actually. I can just get rid of this ADP, which would be really powerful because it would force our opponent to find extra metal sources. They won't be able to half-hit the TinaChomp easily. If they do, then it gives me a chance to potentially knock out the Zacian later. So this is okay. Yeah, that bead was wrong. That bead was wrong. Just took a little bit of time for our opponent to figure out what was going on. We are going to play Surge. I will play green. No, I'll play the greens because I need to find access to a Karate Belt. Let's see, maybe Cynthia Caitlin. I could get the Surge back. That seems pretty solid. We will attach the Psychic because we want to use GGN. We're going to attach the Karate Belt, and then we can use Cynthia and Caitlin. Do I want to accelerate to the Marshadow? I don't think so. I think Marshadow Machamp wants to stay in my hand. Let's Cynthia Caitlin. We will get rid of that Marshadow Machamp, and I will grab Lieutenant Surge here, because that'll give me access to research, and then another supporter next turn, because GGN discards, it does not take prizes. So I'm not at risk of not being able to play the Surge, so I'm in a good spot there. With an Air Balloon already on the Zacian, this Dedenne is going to struggle to get out of the active, but it's not impossible. In fact, it looks like it's very probable here. There's the attachments. They're going for a Cherish Ball, so maybe looking for another Dedenne. No, just a pass. Not a pass. A whiff there. They'll Quick Ball away. Duraludon, grab another Zacian. They're just going to try and power up as many Zacians as possible, I would imagine. And a Professor Research from them too. Okay. So this is good because we are potentially going to be able to set ourselves up to force our opponents to knock 2 GX Pokemon out. They managed to get the retreat, and go straight into the Zacian there. We are in a bit of a position now. What we really need to do is we really need to find access to a Zigzagoon. Luckily, we top decked a green, so we can get all sorts of stuff here. Calamitous Slash, we're still going to be able to attack with the what do you call it? The belt. What we can do is we can Quick Ball, get rid of one of the belts in our hand. We can grab another Giratina-Garchomp. Then we can, let's see, we can Quick Ball again, get rid of the Evo Incense. We can just grab the Zigzagoon. We need this to take a knockout on the Zacian here. It's a bit of a gamble though, because we obviously now can't play greens anymore. What I will do is I'll attach the Fighting Energy to the bench. I think I probably Karate Belt as well. Yeah, and then I feel like Research is probably the best thing to do. I don't need to bead here. This is okay. Haven't got access to a, what do you call it? What's the thing? The net? The big net? Scoop up net? Haven't got that yet. But that's okay. We've got ourselves a chance. They need to find a Saucer again and an attachment, so they will get a knockout here. We've got Spinner, so we can find the Psychic Energy to attack this turn. We either need to find a Scoop Up net off of something, like a top deck, the Scoop Up net, that would be amazing. Or we need to find a boss so that we can boss out the Dedenne next turn. The issue here, though, is that the Zigzagoon is obviously in play. I would love to scoop it up and knock out another Zacian if I can, but it might just be worth going for the knockout on the Dedenne. Like, I think it's probably the best way to go, unless I, like, scoop up this, unless I find the scoop up net off of the top deck. I probably just use the gears in my hand to search for the boss, try and get the knockout on the Dedenne, because that'll be a clean knockout. And then, hopefully, our opponent doesn't boss and knock out the Zigzagoon. Alright, we will promote here. We'll promote in a second. Let's promote our Garchomp Giratina. Oh, okay, we've got the net. This is perfect. Now what we can do... Oh, this is beautiful. Yeah, what we can do now, we can attach to the active, we can scoop up the Zigzagoon, right? Because we can't play greens yet because of the Zigzagoon in play. Now we can. We'll grab Reset Stamp to stamp our opponent down to 1, and grab Power Plant so our opponent can't use the Dedenne. This is brilliant. This is absolutely fantastic. We can play down the Zigzagoon, put 10 damage on the active. Then we can play down the plant. Then we can play the Reset Stamp. And then we can Calamitous Slash, knock out the Zacian. We've left our opponent with access to 1 card. Obviously, 2 off the top deck. They need to get 2 sources and an attachment. I don't think that it's possible. So they need 2 sources, an attachment, and a boss with a power plant in play. I feel like we might have just wrapped this game up. They've got Energy Spinner. So that's one of the cards that they needed. They need the other card in their hand to be like a Research. Looks like they've got nothing. Okay, so they're going for the Intrepid Sword. This is fantastic for us. We now just need to find Boss's Orders off of one of our 3 Pokégears. We've got like 13 cards left in deck, so we've got a 50-50 chance to find Boss's Orders off of Pokégear. With 3 of them, it'd be guaranteed pretty much. Boss's Orders, beautiful stuff. We can gust up the Dedenne here, and then Calamitous Slash quite comfortably. Didn't even need to attach the energy. I'm still actually behind on prizes. There you go, last 2 there. Get across the line against ADP, beautiful stuff. So we've got another game here. I've tested this one out against Matt. I was getting quite frustrated on the ladder because I was just playing Inteleon after Inteleon after Inteleon, and I was like, I just don't want to play Inteleon anymore. So I've asked Matt to jump in and play anything other than Inteleon. I haven't told him what I'm playing. I don't know what he's playing. So we will see what we've got here. Eternatus deck sleeves, Eternatus deck box. Could it be Eternatus? Or is it just... Ooh, it's a Crobat. Maybe we might be able to see whether or not our Marshadow Machamp works here, and it looks like that will be an Eternatus deck. We've got Dark City coming down here. An attachment to Crobat seems very strange, though. The hand mustn't be very good. Oh, it's literally just a thin to get an extra card off of another Crobat. That is no good. A Great Ball here. Hoping to find access to a Eternatus V. Doesn't grab it. Spiritomb, though, pretty useful. And a Pokemon Communication, so this could get the Eternatus V here. Sableye being shuffled away into the deck. So it looks like, yep, that's what it's going to be. Eternatus V coming onto the field of play, but Matt is already an attachment behind since he had to force it a little bit. And we've just top-decked Garchomp and Giratina, which is absolutely fantastic. We will Energy Spinner, we'll grab a Fighting Double Psychic. I think we're probably going to attach one of those Psychics to the bench, and then we will Greens. And we want to set up access to a Magneton next turn. So Evo Incense seems good. What else could we grab? There's so many options. I think I might grab Tag Call, because I do want to have access at some point in this game to Marshadow and Machamp, because that feels like it's going to be a really strong attacker against Eternatus, especially when everything is going well for us. We are going to be able to get 40 damage onto that Eternatus V on the bench, which is great news. And the best thing for us here is that it is unlikely that our opponent is going to be able to knock out that Magnemite on the bench. If Matt does somehow do it, he'd need like Boss and Energy in hand. Doesn't look like he's going for it. He'd need Boss. Oh my god, he's got the Boss. He had Boss and Energy. He could have knocked out the Magnemite this turn. He could have knocked out the Magnemite with the Crobat. Oh my goodness. I mean, we're going to give him a prize anyway with this Evo Incense. But boy, that could have been very interesting. Very, very interesting. We're going to Call Signal. We're going to grab Surge and Greens for sure. I'm going to grab Cynthia and Caitlin as well, because that way I can get Surge back. I'll put the TinaChomp in the active. Obviously, I have to. There's no other option for me. And then we can Surge. We can Greens Exploration. We can get ourselves going here. We just need to find access to one of our belts. We'll grab that. What else have we got? I feel like maybe like a Stadium could potentially be useful. We'll get rid of the Dark City. Stop that free retreat. Considering there's only one card left in Matt's hand, I feel like that's a pretty good spot to be. We will attach the Psychic Energy to TinaChomp. And then I think we just... Cynthia Caitlin, we probably don't need the Pokégear here. We can grab a Surge back, which is fantastic. Draw a few new cards. And yeah, Calamitous Slash will be a knockout on the Eternatus here. We're 2 prizes up in front of this powerful deck. And it's pretty solid as well, because Matt is a long way away from doing much here. He has not got access to a huge amount of potential. It is worth noting that he forgot to use his Spiritomb's ability last turn as well, which is unfortunate to say the very least. It's a Quick Ball. So we managed to find a Quick Ball, which will find Crobat, which will draw some extra cards. He needs to find Eternatus now, though. He can't use another Crobat next turn, because if he does, then his field is literally just garbage. He's got Spiritombs and Crobats, and that's about it. He needs Eternatus V. There's another Dark City, so that's a bit disappointing. And a Research. Okay. So we'll see. Oh, that was a lot of good cards going into the bin. We'll see whether or not that Eternatus comes into play. There it is. So we're not going to be behind. We can't use Surge. I grabbed the Surge back because I knew that one of the Surges was prized, and then I unprized the other Surge, which is very disappointing. What can we do here? I feel like the best thing to do, let's bead these energies on. We can attach one and then attach another. Now I've got 2 attackers here. And we can linear attack and put some damage onto Eternatus, which is fantastic. If Matt ever attacks with a Spiritomb, we can just linear attack into that. But now that we've got some extra damage on that Eternatus, that's really, really good. Being Marnied, not so good. But this hand's pretty good. This is a decent place to be. I'm happy with this. An Eternatus VMAX on our opponent's bench is a little concerning. But it's only concerning if they take a knockout this turn. They're going to need a lot to get there. They need some extra Pokemon, and the way that Matt is playing suggests that he needs to use Crobat. Doesn't look like there's one left, though. Otherwise, he would have gotten it there. Looks like he's getting another Eternatus, unless he has Crobat in hand already, obviously. Building Spite, that's 20 onto a Spiritomb. 20 onto 2 Spiritombs, actually. Now we can take a free prize there, which is really, really good. We can linear attack. He's just going for the Anguish Cry. We can linear attack the active here and try and set up our benched our benched Marshadow Machamp, which is really, really good. Green's Exploration will find access to probably Energy Spinner. I like Dojo as well. Get rid of that free retreat. Or maybe Boss is better. Maybe I'll just grab the Boss, because that way I can guarantee game next turn. Yeah, let's do that. Obviously, having the Evo Incense in hand is a big deal also, but I like having the Boss just there. It makes it just that little bit more, a little bit simpler. I don't need to worry about if somehow Matt manages to knock out the Magnemite. I've got the game in hand. Something just gone into my eye. Oh my goodness. I'm getting all emotional. Oh! Yeah, I think we're in a position to win this. The worst case scenario for us, actually, is that Matt doesn't knock us out. Because if he doesn't knock us out, we don't have energy. Oh no. I mean, we could probably find some with greens. But what if he Marnies us? He's not going to knock us out. He's going to Marnie us. Oh my goodness. We're in, we could potentially be in trouble here. Oh, it's fine. Okay, it's fine. Whew! That was a close one. Just a pass. It's a bit disappointing. We don't have access to Boss this turn, though, so that's also a little bit disappointing. We will Quick Ball away Magnemite. We will grab out another basic Pokemon here. Magnemite seems fine. We just want a thin. Research will do the job. Get rid of all of those cards. We've found a couple of Boss now, but at this stage, it does not really matter. We can just linear attack, take a knockout on the... sorry, not knockout on the bench. Take 40 damage onto the benched Eternatus so that we are guaranteed to be able to knock out a VMAX if it comes into play. There's no point in trying to take the knockout on the Spiritomb because all we need to do is just knock out a VMAX next turn and we'll get it. And we're being Marnied again. What? No. God. So there's 2 Boss's Orders on the bottom of the deck. Hopefully we can find access to Magneton. We do. That's brilliant. We will see here. It looks like Matt has pretty much just conceded that the game is over. No attack means we can just call signal. Let's grab 3 bosses because that's the only card that we need. And then we can boss out a VMAX for game. So there you go. A pretty solid deck. Eternatus is really, really good. So to be able to get a win here with this deck is impressive. It's obviously not necessarily the best game to show off because Matt's deck did struggle a bit, but we managed to win. We won pretty convincingly. I feel like we would have been able to get there regardless. So there you have it. TinaChamp, MarshChomp, whatever you want to call it, is a very, very strong deck, and Magneton with Surge is such a fantastic combo. I'm going to have to try and use it in more decks. It's really, really powerful stuff, so please take a look at the deck in PTCGO, have a game with it, see how you go. Appreciate everyone coming along today. Thank you for your patronage. If you've enjoyed, then please consider subscribing if you haven't already. There's a button that's just over here. Click that, and you will see every single one of our videos as they come out. If you want to see some of the old stuff, it's over here, and over here, down here. Check that stuff out. Follow us on Twitch and Twitter and Discord and all that good stuff, and I will see you next time for more from the Sableyes.